You want to make God laugh? Tell him your plans. I don't know whose quote that is, but I love it. This is episode 8 of the podcast, Dealing with Life. Let's get into it.
I used to think if I couldn't find hope, I should just let it all go. I used to think if I couldn't make dreams come true, I should just let them all go. When life seems impossible, look from a new angle, change just one little thing. When life feels intolerable, find your true source of love. Concentrate, focus on love. Center now, focus on love. Dedicate, focus on love. Focus now, focus on love.
What a week. Holy, eh? You know, it's really the randomness and uncertainty of life that makes it what it is. I used to fear it so much. I still do at times for sure, but golly gee, it makes it so exciting. It makes it something to look forward to. It stops me from giving up. If you try to live a mundane life and get bogged down in a routine, at some point something unpredictable is going to happen and you'll be caught off guard. Doesn't matter how much you try to avoid it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's always an experience. And the fun comes in having no idea what's going to happen. That's why I love that quote. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Because you can plan everything out as best to your abilities. Have everything checked off, everything scheduled, everything in order. And sure, it'll work some of the time, most of the time maybe. But it's not going to work all the time. It's not always going to go according to plan. And I think the goal in life is to embrace that fact. Much easier said than done. But if you can get to a point where that unpredictability excites you, or you find the humor in it, then you're golden. This week for me, certainly, where I was a week ago today to where I am now or to where my life's at now, it was unfathomable. Would never have been like, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen over the course of the next few days. Alas, here we are. And I'm loving it. There's stress, there's anxiety. But I focus really hard on laughing about it, really. Smiling. Trying to see what other unpredictable things can happen over the next week, month, year. Because really, that's the whole experience. That's life. That's dealing with it. That's dealing with it. And I think for somebody that is lost, or is feeling lost, that can be a solace of sorts. The unpredictability of life. The fact that you're not necessarily in control. Obviously, that can be an uncomfortable feeling, and you're not wrong to feel uncomfortable about it, but work as best you can to see the excitement in that. If you feel stuck in like you're not going anywhere, think about the fact that you really have no idea where you're going. You might think, oh, your life's headed one way, get down about it, but you have no idea what's going to happen over the course of the next week, let alone the course of a month. And then 5 years from now, look back 5 years from now. Is this exactly where you thought you would be? For better or for worse? Probably not. And if it is, then you're probably in for something big soon. That's a long time. I know for me, I've been in like 2 year by 2 year by 2 year periods of thinking I had life figured out or had settled into life in one way, for it to all be flipped on its head with no real warning. Things bubble and you can think about changes that you want to make, and sometimes you make them and they go mostly the way that you expect them to, but other times they go completely different. And I guess I've used the good or bad, better or worse, but it's neither. It's just different. Things might happen that affect you negatively, emotionally, or mentally. There can be certainly bad things that happen, but at the end of the day, you end up somewhere else and you got to roll with the punches. This year, past year and a bit, has been crazy for me and so unpredictable. I'd gone through a pretty dark spell that lasted a year, probably. And then I finally started pulling myself out of that. And I remember I moved into my new place here last September. And even that was not something that I ever would have predicted, half a year before that. I just moved somewhere else to start that year. So that was already something weird. And not like it's a new city really, but it was closer to the big city. Barely. But still, it's a different lifestyle. And it was like, oh, okay. This is what things are going to shape up to be. And I started being like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this, and everything's going to sort of go this way. My closest friend at the time was working in that area. We would have seen each other even more than we already were, which is multiple times a week. I remember we were joking about having late nights and then just crashing at my place. And this was in September. And then in October, he was in a very serious motorcycle accident and spent 6 weeks in a coma. And, a year or 13 and a half months later, the effects of that are still figuring themselves out. He's getting better, improving at a rate that I don't know if any of us expected, it's amazing. It's not easy. It's not even really a good thing, obviously, compared to where he, before the accident, but you roll with it. And it's just crazy the way that life can change so fast with no warning. And it can break you or it can make you stronger. And sometimes it has to break you to make you stronger. But you've got to make sure you stay aware of the fact that you can't change what's happened. But you've got a chance to change what's going to happen. So something happens that you weren't expecting, and you don't know how to feel about it, and it's weird, and it's different. Doesn't mean it's bad. It means you reassess at that point. Say, okay, this is where I am. So how do I be happy moving forward? Or how do I make things better moving forward? Or how do I change things in a way that I'm going to be comfortable with going forward? Whether that's in relationships, in work, in friendships, in your own hobbies in life, family. Things are going to happen, things are going to change, and you probably aren't going to be ready for them. And it's okay to not know how to deal with those. But after you take some time, you just got to accept the fact that it's happened. And then now you move on in this different phase. Clean up some Riddle stuff here. Kaylee had gotten, not last episode, 2 episodes ago, Riddle. Sabius messaged in as well. He had that answer as well, the map, but was a little bit behind. But he did, however, have the answer to the first riddle that was given out. And his answer was perfect, really. He said, you ask one guard, if you were to ask the other guard what door he's guarding, what would he say? It turns out the answer the guard gives will always be the opposite of what the door actually is. So if you ask one guard the question, and he says the other guard would say he's guarding a hell gate, then he is actually guarding the heaven gate. So the guard that always tells a lie, you ask him what door is the other guard guarding. The answer is heaven, but he always lies. So he'll say hell. If you asked the guard that always tells the truth, which door would the other guard say he's guarding? Even though he's guarding hell, that other one, he knows that he always lies, so he'll say that that guard will say heaven. So you ask a guard, which door would the other guard say that that guy is guarding? And whatever the answer is, that's the door that the guard that you asked is guarding. That's probably confusing as hell, but it makes sense. Probably easier to write it out, maybe. That was actually a tip that Sabe gave. As long as you understand that, I guess that's all I'm going for. So shout out Sabius. As for another riddle, Sabius actually sent one in, which I was, I guess, lucky enough to have seen before, so that I know the answer. But it is, you're in a 2-story house, and you start at the bottom. Upstairs are 3 light bulbs, for which there are 3 switches. The switches are downstairs with you. How can you determine which switch turns on which light bulb? You can only go upstairs once to check the lights, and you cannot see the lights from downstairs. So how, from downstairs with your 3 switches, can you do something so that when you go upstairs, you'll know which light each switch controls? On the earlier topic of unpredictability in life, I always wanted a sibling growing up. I remember, it's kind of funny now to think back. Maybe it's sad. But I remember growing up when I was like a young kid and it was just me and my mom. She'd always ask me what I want for Christmas. And I'd always say a sibling. That was the one thing I wanted, a brother or a sister. And I wonder how she handled that. I wonder if that made her look at her life at all and be like, oh, I'm not really with anybody. I don't know if I want any other kids. This is the one thing my kid wants. How do I shut him up? I always wanted a sibling. Most of my close friends had siblings. Seemed like fun. But having separated parents kind of makes that hard. My mom saw a lot of different people, but never anything too serious. My dad, I don't know. Just never seemed like it was on the plate. So as I got older, it's like, oh well, I guess it's not happening. And it's even been like a conscious thought, sort of, in a perfect world, my wife maybe has siblings. My future wife has siblings. And then I get a brother or sister that way. If I did have a brother or a sister, then I could also be an uncle one day, which I think would be a role that I excel in. But, you know, whatever. Late 20s now. Got to let go of the dream. And then my dad ends up meeting a nice lady. And he's young. Young for a dad of somebody my age. You know, late 40s. But anyway, now he's planning on having kids. They're gonna try to have a kid or two. And it's like, that was something I always wanted, and then something I never expected would happen. And now here we are. And it's a little surreal. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but it's interesting to think about for sure. Because on the one hand, it's not at all, it doesn't have the same impact it would if I was a child. You know, it's not going to be the same. They're not going to, although they'll technically be my brother and sister, there's not going to be any real brother-sibling bonding or anything like that, you know? I'm old enough to be their dad. That being said, one of the thoughts that I've been having about it, and it's a selfish thought and maybe a little dark and a weird thing for me to think about, but the one thing that I will enjoy, the one thing that I'm looking forward to, I mean, not that I'm looking forward to it, but when my dad eventually passes, if he does have other kids, there will be somebody or some people that I can share that same feeling with. his wife at the time or his friends or his whoever else in his life is going to have lost him in whatever relationship that they had with him. But currently, I would be the only person to lose my dad when he goes. And I think that would be a really hard thing to go through alone. And obviously I'll have friends and they will probably have gone through similar situations at times, but it still will be something that's specific to me, especially when I want to reminisce or think about his teachings and the things that he's done for me. So even though I may end up being 30 years their senior, if I'm 60 and they're 30 and he passes, we can still sit there and together be like, yeah, dad this and dad that. Even though it was different times, he's going to have a similar style of the way that he raised and dealt with his kids. And that'll be something to share with them, I guess. I don't know. I won't feel so alone if that ends up happening. Which is a weird way to look at it, but that's that's something that I've been thinking about in relation to that revelation. And then I guess the whole uncle thing, that's pretty much going to be my role. So I'll get to do that sort of uncle thing. I get to be as involved as I want, be around as much as I want in their lives, help give them my perspective and my philosophies on things and help grow them into the adult humans they become. Which could be good, which could be fun. I've always wanted kids, always, still do. But, my parents had me when they were young. They're both under the age of 20. And I remember my aunts had their kids young, again under 20. And growing up, it seemed like that was what was normal. And I remember always being like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to be 23 when I have my kid. And then here we are, years past that. And I don't have a kid, and I don't think I'm near having a kid. With the way that I was brought up, there's no way that I want to bring up a child in a similar environment. I think that I wouldn't take anything back from my childhood. I think it shaped me into who I am today, and the relationships and people that I get along with and my outlook on life all come from, obviously, my upbringing, and I'm happy with who I am. That being said, it wasn't easy. And there were some bad times and some sad times and probably a little fucked up from different things. And so I really want to make sure that my life is set up and stable enough before I even think about bringing a child into this world. And that's a scary thought, because as much as it's something that I want to do in life, more than maybe anything, I don't know if it all works out. I've got to have my work and or career set up. I have to have just the other aspects of my life, my lifestyle and the way that I'm feeling correct. I've got to find the right partner to have and raise a kid with. And that's going to take a few years from today for sure. And then at that point, we're already getting older. And I want to travel, and I want to do things for myself, and having a child is obviously a big sacrifice for your own life and things that you want to do. And I'm sure it's worth it. I'm sure the payoff is so worth it. But that doesn't make it worth it. Doesn't necessarily make it worth it. It'll be good either way, but you've got to know what it is that you want. Also, do you think your parents, or do your parents know your blood type? I thought for sure my parents would know my blood type. I don't know my blood type, but I was like, oh, it's no worry. I can just text my parents and be like, hey, what's my blood type? And I did that one day. And my mom was like, sorry, I don't know your blood type. And my dad was like, new phone, who's this? And then I told him who it was, and he still didn't know my blood type. And I think that's crazy. I'm not saying it makes them bad parents. I'm just saying it makes them bad blood parents for sure. I was thinking earlier this week, I really hope Alanis Morissette listens to the podcast one day. Shout out Alanis. Love ya. I also hope Julia Louis-Dreyfus listens to the podcast one day. That would be it. Lainey, you know? That'd be cool. Who else? Attenborough? Be super cool if Sir David gave a listen one time. And you know what they need to do? And I'm sure you can already sort of do it with all these deep fakes and different things and those kinds of speech technologies they're working on and the amount of content that he's put out. But they need to start creating a library of Attenborough saying every single word possible and then just saying a bunch of different sentences and different arrangements of words so that after he passes, we can still have him narrating everything. I really hope they're working on that. Like, I hope he doesn't spend any time that he's not sleeping not talking. He should be talking 24/7, and they should have a microphone recording it 24/7. Yeah, he just shouldn't sleep either. Just talk. Talk till you die, David. I really want my last words to mean something. Or I at least want my last words to be known. Which I guess is a weird thought, because that takes away just dying peacefully in your sleep. Unless every night before I go to bed, I'm going to try to say something of significance. Hopefully there's somebody there to hear it. But we say so many things during our lives. I guess I just want to say something that matters. And my last words are going to have a certain level of importance put on them because they are my last words. But really, I just want to be able to say something at any point that helps somebody live their life a better way, a happier way, really, is all I care about. Happiness. You know, our society doesn't really celebrate introverts. It likes to think it does, especially like social media. We all like to, oh yeah, I'm quiet and don't like going to parties and things like that. But the people that we celebrate and the people that are paraded around are not introverts. And I guess that's the nature of the beast of being a celebrity. But I wish there was a little more emphasis on highlighting people that are introverted and that is a-okay, and having maybe more introverted role models, if there's a way to do that. You know, I enjoy this podcast because I'm able to sit down and talk and share my feelings in a comfortable way because it's just me here. And I can pretend that the microphone is all the people that are listening or may listen, or I can pretend that it's one person, or I can pretend that it's my journal and I'm just speaking into it. But a lot of the things that I say or talk about, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting out there in the regular social setting. And that's fine. That's okay. What's been occupying your headspace the last couple of weeks? Work? Relationship? Yourself? Bills? Christmas coming? You realize how close Christmas is now? It's pretty much December, which is insane. Pretty sure it was August a couple weeks ago. Christmas is an interesting time. Have you seen there's a dog with a tail growing out of its forehead? This came into my head from that Christmas thing because it looks exactly like the dog from the Grinch when it's got its antler on. I'll put a picture out there of this dog and of the Grinch dog, and tell me that this dog with a tail growing out of its forehead, if that's not enough to have you intrigued, tell me this dog doesn't look like the dog from the Grinch. But Christmas is coming, and it's always an interesting time, especially now that I'm on my own and I don't see my family too much. it's usually pretty quiet. And I love the season of Christmas. Like, I love the cold, cozy nights. I love the lights. I love the decorations, mittens, scarves, snow. Oh, it's so peaceful. Everything gets quiet and slows down. People are generally happier, I feel. At least they're trying to be. Christmas music, I fucks with some Christmas music. Melikaliki-maka is a thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day. What a tune, you know? Music's great. Everything's great about it, except for the reason that we're doing it all. Christmas itself is garbage. And, I mean, it's not actually Christmas. But this whole, like, gift giving and stress and spend money here and show the people that you love how much you love them with the gift that you can purchase for them. It's so stressful and it's so needless. If you could somehow get everybody on board with like, hey, Christmas is going to go the exact same it's always gone, except presents are illegal. Getting somebody a present between, December 20th to 30th is illegal. People would be so much happier. I'd be so much happier, at least. It's so stressful. Because I always want to get somebody a present that they're going to love. But I'm also struggling to fill my fridge. So that part's stressful. And then it's like, why is it so stressful? We're just meeting up with family and friends and getting dinner and laughing and drinking tea, and everything else is so good and so calm, and it just gets ruined and ransacked by this overbearing feeling of you're not doing enough or you're not displaying enough of what you really should be. Christmas trees are the shit. Can't put it up till December though. If you put your Christmas tree up and it's November still, you lose. You lose the game. You should have to take it down for Christmas if that's the case. If you can't wait till December and have it up for 3-4 weeks, you lose. I don't care if you keep them up into January. Have them up for New Year's for sure. But November? Nah. Not for me, dog. Also, speaking of dogs, get your dog a gift. Get your cats a gift. Get your ferrets a gift. Or not? I guess that's what the problem is. Actually, get your pets. Only getting people gifts is illegal. Getting pets gifts is required by law. Treat them. Treat your pets. Don't ever stop. I never let you know what the recommendation was going to be. And that's because I have no idea what it's going to be. But I can think about it while talking right now and what the recommendation's going to be as we go from November into December. The days start getting shorter. There's a chill in the air. I guess it depends where you're from. I know this is summer in, half the world or something like that. But as we go from November to December, get an advent calendar. It's just a nice little treat to look forward to. And if you don't get to it every day, then you've just got extra chocolates. So the recommendation for this episode is advent calendars. You can get like crazy ones now. You can get like a nice... Not that it's crazy, but you can get like a nice Lindt chocolate one. You can just get a cheap dollar store one. You can get, no matter what your interests or passions or hobbies are, you can find an advent calendar for it. And if you can't, then make your own. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go buy 25 single cans, maybe 24. I don't need it up till Christmas. Or I only need it up until Christmas. But I'm going to go buy a bunch of single cans of different types of beer and just have one nice beer that I can have each day. That sounds nice. Or just go buy yourself a bunch of socks. 24 days, new pair of socks every day. What a month. Treat yourself. That's what Christmas should be about. Treating yourself. And if we all treat ourselves, then we don't have to treat each other. We can just enjoy our time with each other and enjoy the season, stay cozy, and live our lives. Be spontaneous. I think that's it. I think we're going to call it there. That's the end of episode 8 of the podcast. I really do want to thank any and everybody that listens. Over around 10 days ago or something, the first episode of the podcast became the first episode to hit 100 downloads on its own, which is a super cool little milestone. Also, I think we're currently sitting at 397 all-time downloads on the podcast, so 400's probably coming in the next few days, and it's super cool. It's been a month, almost to the day, since I put this out, and I had no expectations. I had no idea of what was going to happen, or what I wanted to happen, or anything like that. And the support that I've gotten from friends, family, and just the random people that have jumped on and started listening, it's amazing, and I appreciate it all. And if we can keep it growing going into next year, then let's do it. Let's have some fun. So if you enjoy it, spread the word. I appreciate you. Hope you appreciate me and the podcast. Treat yourself. Treat your pets. Love your friends. And enjoy your week. Halikalikimakka is a thing to say on a bright Hawaiian Christmas day. That's the island greeting that we send to you from the land where palm trees sway.